we're focusing on new figures which show that 68 people were convicted of drug offences in Ennis last year, a drop on 2024, but nationally convictions are on the rise. To discuss what's happening both locally and across the country, we're joined now by the Fianna Fáil Ireland South MEP Cynthia Ní Mhurchú. Cynthia, good morning to you. Thanks for being with us.
I
might focus on Clare first. Ennis seeing a drop in convictions down to 68 cases. How should we view that, Cynthia? Progress? Is there more to the story that we need to be aware of? And I suppose our conviction figure is always a reliable indicator of actual drug use in a community.
Yeah, well, they're an indicator. Of course, we might say they're not reliable. They could be the tip of the iceberg figures. There's always that with figures. I mean, I'm only dealing with the number of convictions, people convicted of drug offences. There are many more that don't receive a conviction. They don't even receive a summons. So what I say to you in relation to Ennis is well done. You're doing something right there. The figures have gone down in relation to drug offence convictions by 13%. That's really good. Now, it's gone down further in other areas, such as Dundalk by 37%, or Carlow by 33%, or indeed in Clonakilty by 50%. But I'm deeply concerned that the areas that have gone up exponentially, for example, the likes of Tullamore, which has gone up by 180%, which is huge, the biggest jump amongst all the district court areas, and the likes of Clonmel gone up 27%, or Portlaoise gone up 95%. What I want to know, and what I'm asking, is why are some areas doing better than others? And is it to do with, obviously, law enforcement and the judicial process and all the other stakeholders that are involved in drug prevention, drug education, drug treatment, all of that? And if some areas are doing better than others, then we need to look at the likes of Ennis very, very closely and see what lessons can be learned and applied to other areas not doing so well. Because overall, I'm very unhappy about the fact that we have an increase. Any increase at all is not good, because as we know, we have a drugs epidemic, particularly cocaine in Ireland. We're one, if not the highest user in Europe. And we really do need to make sure that we continue to roll out our drug strategy robustly, swiftly, with effect, so that we can ensure that our citizens are safe. Because an awful lot of crimes stem from drug addiction or drug use.
And I mean, you touched on some of those massive increases. I mean, 180% in Tullamore, 100% in Roscommon and 95% in Portlaoise are huge. You've also highlighted a rise in drug driving offences. How does that connect to what we're seeing in these conviction figures?
Yes, that's right. Last year, I made another Freedom of Information request in relation to drug driving offences. And what those figures threw up was that there was a 37% year-on-year rise in drug driving offences. And that is huge. I mean, that's a huge percentage. And so if we look at road deaths and we wonder why are deaths happening, one of the reasons is obviously because people are drunk behind the wheel or people are drugged behind the wheel. If we look at assaults, we could say the same thing. If we look at robberies, we could say the same thing. So that was my point earlier, that most crimes that are carried out in the state have a background of drug use or indeed drink, and people being drunk and being drugged. But particularly, I think what's particularly pernicious in Ireland at the moment and affecting many, many families is road deaths. And people in every parish, not only in County Clare, but in every county around the country, they've been affected by road deaths of loved ones. And it's simply not good enough that we have to put up with that level of road death, which I would say to you very clearly is above the European average. So that's the reason why I want to highlight this issue, and I want to make sure that government and my a very erstwhile colleague who's very committed to this, Jennifer Murnane O'Connor, the Minister in Health, who is across the drug strategy, I want to make sure that her strategy, which is being rolled out at the moment, is properly funded and is properly underpinned with resources. Because, as you know, it's not just a simple case of the Gardaí apprehending a would-be offender and then issuing a summons and prosecuting the person before a court. There are many, many other aspects to this issue, and indeed there's a huge health piece and there's a huge community piece.
Yeah, and are there particular elements of the national drug strategy that need to be prioritised? And even aside from that, Cynthia, do you feel that current policies in this country are keeping pace with the scale of the issue?
Yes, I think policy is, but obviously no policy or any policy is only as good as the resources that are applied to it. So Look, you could be very black and white about this problem, and you could say that there's carrot and stick involved, right? And there is. But I suppose it's the detail that's applied to the carrot and stick. So I'll just give you an example. For example, the casual drug user who decides to go out on a Saturday night and just overdo it on cocaine and think there'll be no repercussions, I'll return to work and everything will be fine. That person, if they do come before the district court, I would be suggesting that they should be fined and issued with a hefty fine per offence, and it shouldn't be a fine that they feel well able to pay that, or it really needs to hit people who are taking a chance on this, casual cocaine user on a weekend. But then within drug users, we do have abusers and addicted people, and they obviously need more detox beds in our prisons or in our facilities where they offer this kind of treatment. But then again, if somebody refuses, who is a convicted repeated drug dealer, and they refuse to avail of a detox bed, well, then we have to look at that as well from a judicial perspective and say, look, maybe your sentence will have to be adjusted by the judge when you come back before him or her again. So it's got to be incentives, but it's got to be help as well. And it's not one size fits all, that's for sure, because the problems that are associated with drug taking and drug addiction are very complex.
You're also highlighting the need for public campaigns. I mean, what kind of messaging, Cynthia, do you think would actually resonate, particularly with younger people? And do you think campaigns of this nature, have they worked effectively enough in the past, or do people pay any heed to them at all?
Yeah, I think that campaigns that are rolled out by the Road Safety Authority, where they do emphasise that an accident has happened as a result of drug taking, I feel that young people don't pay much attention to that because they don't look at television or they don't listen to radio. So I do think that we need to be looking at the likes of influencers. And by influencers, I mean even our local GAA team, even our local players, hurling, football, whatever sport it is, rugby. We need to be getting the message out there that, look, I mean, it's all good to have fun, but I mean, these are addictive substances. In my day, it was all about don't get addicted to drink and don't overdrink. But in actual fact, neither is worse than the other. I'm not suggesting drink is worse than drugs, but now young people are faced with either or. And unfortunately, drugs are proving extremely attractive to young people in particular because they're avoiding the issues in relation to body changes or in relation to other changes. And unfortunately, it's made its way into areas in life that we would have thought were completely drug-free, whether it's in the sporting arena or otherwise. So I think we do need to think again about our advertising campaign. I think it needs to be more targeted. I think it needs to be more personal. And I think it needs to reach young people where they'll see it on their phones.
Okay, we do have to leave it there. But Cynthia, thank you very much for being with us on the programme this morning.
Oh, sure.